Thanks, everybody. Nice to see you. Most of you probably know me. Anybody from the South Georgian Bay area, I'm probably not so familiar. My counterpart over there is Deb Flynn at Quill Network, whom we work very closely with. Some of the information I'll be talking about is from our catchment area, which does not include South Georgian Bay, unfortunately, or Bradford. Some of the documents that are in the handout packages, and does everybody have a handout package? Those are sample documents, and I'll be giving links to the actual documents by locality, because I've just used the one from Barrie, South Simcoe, because I didn't know who was from what area. So those will be available to you if you want to download the documents. Some of you may be familiar with those documents as well. The barrier to employment I wanted to discuss with you is poor literacy and essential skills, poor essential skills and soft skills. And I don't think that's any surprise that some of your clients with not so great soft skills or not so great essential skills have difficulty finding employment. They may have difficulty keeping employment. As we know from all the various employer surveys that have been done, if you can remember, what are the skills that they find that their employees or prospective job seekers are lacking? Anybody? Critical thinking? Sorry? Communication skills? Anybody else? Teamwork skills, problem solving. We see that over and over in the last few years of when people are trying to hire people, or when even talking about some of the staff that they have. And that doesn't necessarily mean the person doesn't have experience or the person doesn't have education. It can simply mean that they just haven't had a chance to use some of those essential skills. It may mean that they're switching from one type of career to another, one type of occupation to another, and they're now having to use skills they didn't have to use before. And as most of us know, when we have skills and we don't use them, they get really rusty. And then there are the people who had difficulty in education settings and were not able to complete the training that they needed. And so there's various reasons why people have a lack of the essential skills and the soft skills that they need to be in a work environment or to be at a particular type of business. As we know, that affects their employment prospects. It affects how long they might stay in a job. It can affect their opportunities for promotion or a better type of employment. A lot of those skills can be upgraded through attendance at the upgrading programs that are in Simcoe County and Muskoka and around the province that are funded through Employment Ontario. They use the term Literacy and Basic Skills Program, which make all of us cringe. Because basically what the Employment Ontario upgrading programs help people with are upgrading their essential skills, and a lot of the soft skills are embedded within that training. We tend to say upgrading programs or skills upgrading programs. We prefer not to use the term literacy or basic because there is a stigma connotation attached to that, oh, well, that's not me. Like, that's just somebody who can't read. And really, when you're talking about essential skills, the reading, writing, document use end of that is it's basically being able to use all the written material that comes across your life efficiently and well and in a way that helps you achieve all of your goals. It's a broad range of skills and it's a broad range of abilities and knowledge. And most people, when they want to change careers or when they need a better job or when they're interested in something, they will do some form of professional development, or they'll do some upgrading, or they'll take a new course. So it's the lifelong learning that we have to follow because life changes so much. And we all know that employment is changing a lot. Individual jobs are changing, whole occupations are changing. There are changes in the workforce where certain jobs are just not done anymore. They've sort of gone out of fashion, they've been automated, whatever. And we know that coming down the pipe are a huge number of new jobs, new types of occupations that probably some of us haven't even thought of yet. There are new types of positions available now that weren't there in the early 1900s. So the world of work changes and people need to change with them. When I have given you one of the handouts, there is the facts about adult upgrading. For anyone who would like to have this, please keep it and we'll make it there available too. But it's a very short form version of what adult upgrading actually includes. The main thing that it's not like regular school, that when we're working with one of the adult upgrading programs, it's focused on what the client needs in order to achieve the goals. Like, it's looking at the skills that they're missing or the level of skills. They may be able to read, write, do numeracy quite well, but maybe not for the job that they want, because every type of job has a different level of complexity, a different use of these skills. So everyone is assessed for the skills that they have, and we look at what it is that they need. And even in a classroom setting, which happens in a school board or a college upgrading program, they have an individualized learning plan. So they're working on what they need to learn at a pace that works for them. And if it takes them 3 weeks, fine. If it takes them 3 months, if it takes them 3 years, that is what it takes. The other thing that a lot of people don't know is that the way the programs are structured now, it's very much focused on the task that this person needs to do. So that means whether it's something for life stabilization, as if you want to call it, or something in a personal domain, I want to be able to do this. That's, we can work that into their learning plan. But it can be tailored to the type of work that they want to do. We can use resources and tasks that are actually based on what they would be doing in that type of an occupation. For some people who are still getting ready for employment, there can be learning plans put together where they're getting practice in job search skills. They have the time and the energy with an instructor support to practice all of those things that they need to be able to do for their job search. We know that employment service providers are the experts in this, but they don't have a lot of time and months and weeks to help somebody get really proficient in using the internet or get really proficient at word processing or something. So working within the adult upgrading programs, someone who's being supported towards employability, they can work with those programs and gain some of those job search skills. Some of the tasks that I've seen are like even learning how to promote yourself and do an interview and that. And it's tasks that they can do over time and get more practice at it in doing it in different situations. Soft skills are built in, but some of our practitioners and some of our agencies also offer the Workforce Development Board soft skill solutions from time to time, which is the condensed version of looking at those soft skills and helping people realize where they might need to adjust their attitude or update some of the knowledge around that. What I also hear from employment service providers in particular is that there are barriers to addressing these barriers. Am I right? Right? You may see that this client particularly should get some upgrading, be better at this or better at that, but convincing them that that's what they need to do, if what they really need right now is a job, is not an easy task. Am I right? What are some of the objections that they throw up at you? Sorry? They don't have time. Transportation's an issue. Sorry? They have a family to support, so they need that job right away. Anything else? Okay, so in your handout package is this thing called Reality Checklist. And we put this together to list exactly those barriers and some of the ways that the information that you have that you might be able to combat that or forestall that objection. For example, the time commitment is too great. The timing in the LBS programs are flexible. And as much as possible, the programs will work with the time that the client has available and work to get whatever delivery model works for them, whether it's a one-to-one tutor, coming in the mornings to a school board program, doing part-time, like two or three mornings over the evening programs in a college upgrading program. They can continue doing some upgrading on their skills while they work, particularly if any of the part-time clients are. There's also online options with support from the upgrading programs where they can, if they're comfortable doing some online learning and they have the internet access, they can maybe upgrade their skills on their own time, if that works for them. On the next page, you have getting a job as a priority, and we know that in a lot of areas now, employers really want people to have a GED or a grade 12 diploma, and that they really should, as much as possible, at least have the essential skills that have been identified as needed for every job. And I've also included a list. If you're not familiar with the essential skills, that's in there with the definitions for the essential skills, which is reading, text, document use, numeracy, writing, oral communication, working with others, all of the thinking skills, problem solving, decision making, all of those. Computer use and continuous learning. Those are all echoed in the employability skills that the Conference Board of Canada has put together. And all of those essential skills, pretty much all of those essential skills are built within the framework that the adult upgrading programs work with. So we can assess people for the skills that they have versus the skills that they need and help them brush up on specific skills. And they don't have to do everything at once. They can come in and say, I really need to work on writing formal business writing. And maybe there's some other things that they want to work on that can be combined with that together. Great. Occasionally, different organizations will have targeted specific types of training available, such as computer use for work, or the soft skill solutions, or some other type of training that is not a long training, maybe a few months, as well as there's the regular intake programs where they can work on what they need at their own pace. So there's a lot of options, and if you have clients that may be able to get a job without having all of this, the skills that maybe they probably will need eventually. They're able to get a job, but can they keep their job? Is it a good enough job to make a living out of? Is it a good paying job? Is it at least a living wage job? Is it a job with any opportunity for them to use their skills to advance in the job? Or are they going to be in that cycle of having a job, losing a job, having a job, losing a job? Or just working at such a low-paying job that they have to have 2 or 3 jobs. And eventually, they're going to find that they're passed over for training. They may be passed over for promotion, and I think I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. So some of those things are some of the ways that you might want to, sort of mention to the clients that, employers are looking for this and this. And if I have this right. How many of you use the essential skills profiles with your clients? Hands? A few people do? Good. I know I've worked with people in LBS, but who are employment bound, but they're really not that happy. And I know some of our programs have worked with people who say, I need to do this upgrading, but I'm really not happy, and I don't see why I need to. This really, this has taken up a lot of my time, and you've probably had clients like that too. You maybe just want to look at the other objections that are on this reality checklist. So they believe that they don't need to have higher levels of education to perform certain jobs in their communities, such as entry-level positions in construction or factories. Is that true? In your experience in the businesses and factories and that around here, is it true that they don't need to have good skills or a higher level of skills? depends. There might be jobs now where you don't need computer use. There might be jobs where you're not writing things. There might be jobs where you don't have to do a lot of critical thinking or problem solving. I think they're a few far between, and I don't think they pay very well. I know that even housekeepers now, you see them in hotels, they've all got PDAs or tablets or something, and everything is scheduled all on that, everything's there. They're expected to be able to understand all of those documents on the screen. They have to fill them in and complete them, and they have to do it right because their pay depends on that. So, and I'm sure that in manufacturing processes, with all the automation that's happening, more and more of people are going to be required to use documents. They're going to be required to use screens. They're going to be required to use a lot of automation that they maybe haven't had before. And I know it's hard to convince people that, but if you can use the essential skills profiles, which give an indication of the main things that people use on the job, some of the tasks that they have to use, and at what complexity level. So if these are fairly straightforward jobs or really, really complicated jobs, the profiles will let you know this is the kind of reading you're going to have to be able to do on the job. This is the kind of computer use you have to do on the job. This is the kind of teamwork tasks that are there on that job. And sometimes that can get them thinking, and you can sort of, can you do that? And let them think about that, and maybe they're going to realize, you know what, I don't know, I've never done it before, or yeah, I've done that before. And fine, that might be true. But there may be ways that they say, well, I had to write reports for this, but on this job, now you're going to have to do this. Is that something you're comfortable with, or would you like to do some upgrading of those skills? So there's ways, I'm trying to sort of see, there's a few ways of getting around some of these objections that people rightly have. On the transportation one people mention, what can we do to help them with transportation? Sorry? Yeah, bus passes if they have a bus. What else? I mean, we all offer some transportation help, don't we? I know it's not always easy. And if you're way out in the boonies, it could be a real issue. And that might be legitimate. I can't get to work. And we know that happens in a lot of the areas around here in the rural areas. I'm ready for the job. I could get this job. I can't take this job because of transportation. That's a legitimate thing that we may or may not be able to help them with. But I think it's a crime that someone who could be hired on the spot and looks like they'd be a really good employee and works hard can't get to work. So granted, we can't address everything, but we can combine and pool our resources and try and get this client into whatever it is that they need. LBS providers, would you do an assessment standalone? If the employment service provider suspected the client might need some upgrading?
Sure.
The intake usually gives you a really good idea. The intake questions that you ask at an LBS program will often give them an idea of whether a further assessment should be done. Sometimes it's not necessary, but other times it's always a good idea. We're trying. I'm working with a group of other regional networks on an apprenticeship initiative, and it's just in the early stages yet, but it's one of our pushes for next year. We're trying to encourage the ministry to really encourage apprentices, new apprentices in particular, to do an upfront assessment of some kind, whether they're using one of the essential skills assessments, where they go into an LBS program or whatever, so that they know at the front end of their apprenticeship process if they have some skills that they need updating. And we really encourage any of your clients that want to go into apprenticeship, just whether they go on and get a TALS assessment, whether they go online and do the government's essential skills assessments. There's various ways of doing it, but sort of say, are you going to need some upgrading in your math? Are you going to need some upgrading in your writing? Like communications, how many, maybe you've never had to write reports. Maybe you've never had to, discuss things and do customer service or anything. Maybe there are some areas that you want to upgrade before you go into that classroom setting. So just in case you haven't used the Essential Skills websites, this is one of the profiles. You can actually search for a occupation in here. You can either use the NOT code or just the name of the occupation. And this one was just general office clerks. The laborer one wasn't loading. But you can see there's a description, just a summary of what general office clerks do. And because you may say, well, I want to work in an office. Okay, well, like, again, that's a lot of different kinds of jobs working in an office. So here's one. It's generally considered a fairly entry level, I think. So you can go here, and these are the types of reading that the person, most general office clerks would probably need to do. This over here is the complexity level. So this is a fairly basic task. This is a little more complex because you're proofreading reports, letters, presentations that are going to be going out to a client. And down here we have a higher level of complexity because they're going to be using different manuals. This is document use as well as reading and thinking. Comparing different manuals to learn how to perform different functions on different things, certain functions, how to use new software packages. That's a much more complex job. Not every office clerk might have to do that, but I think most of them do. And then this is an even more a high-level office clerk, which is going to be interpreting policy statements. So there's a whole range of different tasks that an office clerk might use just in the reading. And those are some areas where you think yourself, like, what skills do I need to be able to do that? Okay, client, can you do that? I'm sure there's better ways of saying that, but the only time I've used it was someone actually said, so, can you do that? Because they were really giving me a hard time. No! Okay! Let's put this back in. There's numeracy here. It tells you different kinds of numeracy skills or anything related to money, scheduling and budgeting, calculating, math, all of this stuff, data analysis, are things that they might need to do in their job. Document use is a big one. Almost every job that I can think of uses a document somewhere or the other. Even just using a computer screen is considered a document. So these are fairly simple jobs, from looking up phone numbers and reading labels on supplies and things, to things more complicated like completing register sheets, balance sheets, and a lot of this now is all done on computers, right? They may be doing some accounts payables and accounts receivables. Again, it's all looking at tables and charts and graphs. So these are things, are you familiar with this? This is something you might have to do, and you probably, if you're not familiar with it, you should maybe brush up those skills so that you can tell your prospective boss that you can do it. I think I'm over time, am I? No? So I just wanted to bring that up to sort of say, if you're having someone that, is just not even lasting that month, or maybe making it through a month, but is not able to advance, or is having really trouble keeping the job, possibly the reason is that they're lacking some essential skill that's really critical to that particular job, and that maybe there's a way that they can brush up on those skills and sort of zero in. And again, most of the if they're having document work, use and stuff like that, I've even seen some programs ask them to bring in the things that they're working with if their employer allows them to take stuff out. If not, we can make a facsimile of it, a fake of it, and sort of show them how to work with those documents or how to work with some of the software or something like that. And again, the upgrading programs are very flexible, and they're working on what it is that client needs. And they don't have to do everything at once. They can go into a program and come out of a program, go back into a program for something else that comes back. We just try to make it as easy as possible so that they still show progress and they still get the benefit of the training that they need. I've gone through it really, really quickly, but that's basically how a lot of people use them with clients, and even with students. The learners in the programs, we can sort of say, well, we see this is what you need to do, and we may have a whole raft of little tasks around reading forms. We may have a raft of tasks around looking for a better job. We may have, a whole raft of tasks on how to use computers and there's actual courses in most of the upgrading programs offer computer basics and then the higher level computer courses at the college. Some of the other barriers that people might have are that they've had a learning disability, either diagnosed or undiagnosed, that they have a learning disability. And learning disability, a true learning disability, is a neurological disorder that isn't going to get better, but we can certainly help clients work with them. We can find ways that work for them to learn what it is they need to learn. Most of the upgrading people are not experts on learning disabilities, but you learn through trial and error. They've all had a little bit of training in it. But we work with the client to figure out what is it that's going to work for you so that you can get that information that you need. If you have an oral processing where, stuff that people tell you is just not coming in, well, we make sure it's all in writing. And vice versa. If someone has a difficulty processing written information, we can use it, an auditory way. We work with the client to find out what works with them. How do you cope in your daily life? Let's see if we can do something like that. So that can be a help anyway, and if necessary, we'll try to work with them and maybe you or anybody else that they're working with to get a more professional diagnosis of what it is that they need to work on. And a lot of people too are ashamed because they know they need skills upgrading and they're ashamed of that. And we tell them, please make sure that they're not alone. It's nothing, it's just that there's skills they haven't got. And they're not alone, and if they come into one of the programs for an assessment or to have some upgrading, no one's going to make fun of them. They may not be getting support from their family. They may be hiding things from their family. Or their family or their friends just may think they're crazy for trying to, upgrade their skills. But just tell them they're not alone, and it's a very comfortable, safe environment. And we certainly would support them, that's for sure. So there's also an outreach flyer in your package that is something that you can give to your clients. That particular one on the back of it is has the information, or the page 2 has information for Barrie South Simcoe, but we have one for all of our communities. And it's just basically some of the things that clients might want to upgrade on, and then it gives them a list of all the programs that are available to them. And we do have francophone programs in Penetang and Barrie, if you have francophone agents or clients. The other thing that we wanted to bring forward, and this is sort of the update part of it, is we've been working in parts of the area with employment service provider employer liaisons and OW liaison and job developers to try to get the word out to employers that these services are here for any of their current employees that might want to upgrade their skills. I mean, I'm sure employers would tell you, this guy, he's really good at this, but he's having trouble here. But areas like that, if they know the services are available, and we've discovered they don't, we can help them help their employees to upgrade the skills, and then they might not lose them. We're looking at retention here. Also, if they have prospective employees that and we all know that they're really looking for people. We keep hearing they can't get the people to fill the jobs that they have. They may not have to turn away an otherwise good fit just because there may be some of the essential skills that the person needs to work on, or some soft skills that the person needs to work on. Perhaps they could consider hiring that person on condition that they get some upgrading in those areas. Just an idea. We want to make sure that they know the services are there and that they can tell their employees, and not necessarily just for the employees, just for anybody they know, that the help is available should they wish to take it. So we have put together the sample flyer for employers. It's essential skills for your staff. And we're working on rolling it out in most of our areas. And it's just a sample of something that, it's information for the job developers and employer liaisons and anyone else in your offices. But it's some of those things that people tell us they need improvement on: time management, decision making, communication, accuracy, filling out forms, computer use, grammar and tone of emails. That's becoming an issue in some areas. So these are things that the upgrading programs can help current employees, prospective employees, anybody really. And it might help employers keep the workforce that they have and not have to sort of say, well, they can't do this, I have to let them go. It's really not going to help anybody. So it's just one thing that we'd like to bring forward.